Scale, battle for supremacy. The slot car boom in the 1960s is defined in two letters, HO. This one scale dominated sales and outsold larger scale cars by a wide margin. However, HO sets were primarily the domain of the mass market starter sets generally sold to and for children, and the adult interest in slot cars was beginning to take a different turn. As the decade progressed, manufacturers of larger scale cars attempted to attract those adult hobbyists. Their diversification and quality enhancement programs worked. Teenagers and adults discovered big slot car racing as a more challenging approach to the hobby. Large slot cars zoomed in popularity in the mid-60s, leading to a second slot explosion, a boom that remained separate from the enduring mass appeal of HO cars. Rise of the Raceway. Since larger slot layouts didn't fit in most homes, raceways were the only answer. Like so many trends, slot car parlors showed up first in California, the earliest opening in 1961 Los Angeles. 2 years later, there were 30 raceways, nearly all in the Los Angeles area. And by 1964, the boom had jumped the Rocky Mountains into metropolitan centers of the Midwest and East. Craft, model, and hobby industry filled its pages with articles explaining how to cash in on the raceway bonanza. An early lesson learned was that noisy raceways didn't mix with retail hobby environments. Dealers, however, could recoup the overhead of a separate facility by renting track time at 50 cents a half hour. Most also rented cars, and raceways invariably included a kit and parts counter where racers could buy cars and supplies. There were two kinds of raceways: bare bones, concrete floored facilities for serious racers, and plush carpeted entertainment centers for the broader casual market. Dealers soon discovered business was almost all male, with the 15-year-old boy dominating the demographic profile. The heady early days of slot raceways did produce some notes of caution from veteran hobby industry observers. Craft, Model, and Hobby reminded readers of the trampoline center craze a few years earlier, warning that slot car parlors might be another bubble. A Californian writing to Model Car and Track in the November 1964 issue noted, "Out here there are too many tracks. Some will live and some won't." Others contend that outside big cities, America was largely unaware of slot car racing and predicted raceway growth was only just beginning. Aurora management felt that their leadership role in slot cars demanded they too get into the raceway business, and do it in a very big way. Aurora purchased an old Vic Tanny gym down the block from the West Hempstead factory. Dick Schwarzschild, who had been brought in-house as Bill Silverstein's sales and promotion assistant, was given the task of setting up the new raceway. However, Schwarzschild was skeptical of the long-term success of slot raceways. He observed that average drivers spent too much time retrieving crashed cars from the floor and returning them to the track, a bad omen. Silverstein made sure the raceway's July 22, 1965 grand opening was a national event. He assembled 40 reporters at the Manhattan Biltmore and put them in a chartered coach to West Hempstead, along with a caterer, plenty of food, and a few Broadway chorus girls. 5 of the East Coast top slot racers were on hand to demonstrate their skills. Aurora declared the Raceway Center their new proving grounds, their way of keeping fingers on the pulse of the hobby. The reluctant Schwarzschild had done a terrific job. 9 large tracks, 7 for large-scale cars, 2 for HO, each with color-coded lanes, filled the 16,000-square-foot center. Modern swivel chairs enhanced racers' comfort. Walls featured large photos of race cars in action. The hobby shop carried the latest cars and equipment by all major manufacturers, not just Aurora. How could it not thrive? The move into large scale. Joe Giammarino recalled that Aurora felt obliged to get involved in the booming big car market, rather than forfeiting it to the competition. "Where we could make a buck, we'd make it," he recalled. Derek Brand added, "Revell had a 1/32 system, and we looked at it enviously and said, if they can do it, we can do it too." Bill Silverstein shared Schwarzschild's reservations about large slot cars. He felt that going into large cars diluted Aurora's commitment to HO. Indeed, it went against Model Motoring's slogan, "Twice the race and half the space." Aurora nonetheless gave its new 1/32 cars top billing at the 1965 HIAA convention. Called Aurora Americans A-Jets, the cars were marketed like their HO counterparts, as ready-to-run cars and package sets for the home, not specialty cars for the slot enthusiast. Dan Gurney signed on as an A-Jet spokesman. Aurora initially offered 10 sports and Grand Prix body styles, all featuring large American flag stickers on their doors. The two basic sets sold for $39.95 and $49.95, quite an investment for a Christmas toy. Interestingly, A-Jet's running gear was partially derivative, partly original. In a nod to compatibility, Aurora mounted the braided metal pickups on either side of the guide blade, like all other 132nd cars. It meant that A-Jets would run on anyone's track. Originality, however, was not lacking. Aurora's aluminum chassis was a West Hempstead creation, just as the innovative Challenger side-winded motor was. The new motor was pure Derek brand. He took a T-Jet and turned it on its side, hence a sidewinder. The Challenger was larger than a T-Jet and was packaged in a unique snap-together metal and plastic casing, but its three-pole armature and distinctively shaped magnets revealed T-Jet heritage. Aurora built a new motor in West Hempstead. The Challenger was different from the can motors installed in most competitive cars. It had the advantage of being easy to work on and, because it was a sidewinder, placed weight directly over the rear wheels for better traction. Biggest criticism? The Challenger could not match the power of other motors. Brand realized this from the beginning, so Aurora brought out an improved version, the Super Challenger 1504, early in 1966. The performance gap was closed when Aurora rewound the Challenger's armatures to transform the 12-volt original into a hot 6-volt power plant. The K&B connection. A-Jets weren't Aurora's first foray into large-scale slot cars. Through its California subsidiary K&B, Aurora in 1963 marketed 125 and 124 accessories from a variety of suppliers under the Model Rama trademark. Since K&B served the serious hobbyist market, it was compelled to enter the burgeoning hot motor field. K&B's first motor, the Bobcat 1501, debuted early in 1965. A large 36D size can motor, it was manufactured by can motor giant Mabuchi of Japan. K&B simply jumped on a well-established bandwagon with the Bobcat. Most competitors already sold Mabuchi-built motors. Mabuchi is one of the great success stories of the hobby industry. Founded after World War II by the Mabuchi brothers, Kenichi and Takicha, Mabuchi was discovered by the Polk brothers in 1950s building motors in a Tokyo shop with a staff of 5 women. With U.S. distribution handled by the Polks, Mabuchi achieved tremendous success at a time when Americans had negative images of Japanese-made products. By 1965, Mabuchi had 4 Tokyo plants employing 1,500 workers who built 250,000 motors daily. K&B had tried selling the Aurora Challenger motor in their first slot car kits, but the Mabuchi-made Bobcat's runaway success sealed the American motor's fate. Aurora's mass-market angle limited their large-scale releases to more intermediate-sized 132nd cars. This left K&B free to issue cars in larger scales, a natural step since K&B already marketed 124 and 125 scale components. In fact, its first 125 scale car, the Dragmaster 308, was little more than a metal chassis with a driver's head on top. K&B's first real 125 scale car kits, the Ford GT and Cobra GT 1800 and 1801, were well received by slot enthusiasts. Their best feature? Molded-in clear windows. Other manufacturer kits required gluing, usually producing ugly smears. K&B retained Ted Newart's contract molding shop in nearby Pomona to design and manufacture integrated clear parts. Newart's process was ingenious. Clear windows were first molded separately, then placed into cavities in the body molds before plastic injection. When the cavities filled with molten plastic, heat fused the clear windows to the opaque bodies. K&B cars ran on an adjustable aluminum chassis, complete with a spring-loaded pickup arm and realistic plastic-spoked aluminum wheel inserts. The motor was the Challenger Sidewinder. Model Car Science, March 1965, declared K&B's product line different from run-of-the-mill kits. Faint praise indeed.